We're going to be talking about what Agentic AI means for the modern finance team. The enterprise AI conversation is evolving, and it's evolving fast. And believe me when I say in the radio and TV industry, it is here. For years now, most tools were copilots, helpful assistants that kind of summarized, suggested, and even stayed politely on the sidelines. But a new era has arrived. Agentic AI doesn't wait to be told what to do, it takes action. This webinar explores how Agentic AI is redefining the modern finance team. And instead of simply assisting with accounts payable tasks, Agentic AI autonomously executes them, classifying spend, matching POs, routing approvals, even managing inboxes intelligently and in real time. No templates, no static rules. So, of course, this session is brought to you by Vic.ai. So let's talk about Vic.ai. Katie Roy, with 8 years in product management, joins us, and she has shaped mid-market and enterprise SaaS products across healthcare, transportation, and accounting. At Vic.ai, she champions AI-powered finance automation, translating cutting-edge machine learning capabilities into intuitive features that simplify life for busy finance teams. And she is also joined by Mark Fisher, Senior Vice President of Marketing with Vic.ai. Mark Fisher, who is an experienced growth strategist, brand storyteller, and market leader with nearly 30 years of industry experience across marketing, finance, and technology, also joins us. Katie, Mark, how are we doing today?
Couldn't be better. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm great. Where are you guys coming from?
Go ahead, Katie. Let's start with you.
I'm coming from Jupiter, Florida.
Oh, I know Jupiter well. I used to have a place in Fort Lauderdale, just a little north there. I love it.
Yep, it's beautiful here.
It is.
I'm on the other coast, out in San Diego.
Oh, been there too. I love it. I love both sunshine areas.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get sunshine.
100%. Listen, I'm going to throw things over to you. This is a hot topic because it's continuously evolving. I know it certainly is in my industry, and for this industry, it's making life simple. So let's talk about AI.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. Really appreciate it. So, and hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session, AP Reimagined, what Agentic AI means for the modern finance team. And so, as Rob mentioned, I'm Mark Fisher, SVP Marketing at Vic.ai, and I'm luckily joined by Katie Roy, our Senior Product Manager. And we're really excited to be here with IFOL and the audience today to talk about a topic that, as Rob mentioned, is on a lot of finance leaders' minds, Agentic AI, and what it actually means for your daily operations, your teams, and your strategy. So this is really about where the industry is going and how the next wave of AI will fundamentally reshape the way finance teams work. You definitely don't need to be an AI expert to get value out of this session, but you do need to be a little curious and open to thinking differently about how work gets done, right? So let's dive in. I'll obviously skip the intros here. Let's start with a simple what-if exercise. And I love these, but what if your best AP clerk never called in sick, never made a mistake, and never had to be trained twice? Or what if your AP team processed invoices 10 times faster with perfect accuracy while freeing up time for the work you never seem to get to? Here's my favorite one. What if the monthly close became irrelevant? Because your team had real-time visibility into payables, accruals, and cash flow every day, not just at month end. It might sound like science fiction, and I've seen some good sci-fi lately, but it's not. That's the direction that AI is moving in right now. We're seeing it every day, and we're no longer talking about automating tasks. We're talking about AI, as Rob said at the beginning, that takes action. And for finance teams and accounting teams, as you all well know, that changes everything. So let's talk a little bit about our agenda. Today, we'll cover what's still broken in AP. As you all know, it's still a lot, right? But we'll break down then after that what agentic AI actually is and why it's fundamentally different from the automation you've seen before. We'll look at some real world use cases with Katie, and we'll include how some other finance teams are deploying AI agents today. And finally, we'll talk about how this matters for you, the AP team of the future. What new skills will you need? How do you prepare for this shift without overwhelming your team? Katie, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, nothing I'd like to add. Sounds like a great plan, Mark.
Awesome. Let's get going. And obviously, we'll save some time for QA at the end if there are any questions. Let's just get going. So just a quick intro before we dive into the trends. Let me give you just 60 seconds on who we are at Vic.ai, since for some of you, this might be the first time hearing about us. Vic.ai started in 2016 in Norway, where fintech innovation, as you may know, tends to move very fast. We got early traction in Europe, working with large accounting firms and finance teams to stress test the AI. And we launched in the US in around 2022. We've got around 115 million in venture funding since then from top tier investors. And today we processed over 30 billion in invoices for over 18,000 entities across the globe. We work generally with enterprise companies, high growth mid-market teams, and accounting service providers alike. But our mission from the start has been to build the first truly autonomous finance platform. And we started with Accounts Payable for one simple reason. It's where the most pain lives and where AI has the clearest, most immediate ROI. Manual invoice processing is slow, expensive, error-prone, frankly, soul-crushing for some people who are doing it every day. So Vic.ai set out to build something different. We partnered very early with global accounting firms to train our own models on massive, diverse data sets. And we were the first to launch end-to-end autonomous workflows for AP, not just invoice capture, but approvals, PO matching, and payments too. And we focus on what we call accountable AI, AI that delivers measurable, auditable results and adapts to your company's unique business logic. So put simply, and I can't claim this, but we don't build software that people work in, we build software that does the work. And hopefully that makes sense as we begin to talk about agentic AI. Let's get down to why this really matters and talk about some of the persistent challenges, in AP today. Despite decades of automation, like the same AP points are still here. And in fact, for a lot of teams, the teams that we talk to on a daily basis, the problem is getting worse, not better. And here's what we hear over and over. Let me know raise your hand or give a shout out if this sounds familiar. But invoice volumes are going up, not down, right? Especially for companies growing through acquisition or managing multiple entities. Manual processes haven't gone away. OCR, RPA, even ERP workflows, they still leave humans stuck cleaning up errors and chasing approvals. Vendors certainly expect more. I know our vendors do. They want faster payments, flexible payment methods, and instant answers to where's my payment? Visibility is limited. Most teams still rely on spreadsheets to reconcile AP data and manage cash flow. And don't forget, obviously, compliance risks, duplicate payments, fraud exposure, all of which get worse when processes are fragmented. So it's no surprise that it's not just a daily annoyance. It's a real operational drag, right? Our partners in their 2024 report said 70% of AP teams say manual invoice handling is still their number one bottleneck. So if we break it down further, there are a couple of key areas I think that really shine a light on this. Inbox management, like it's a nightmare. A Hackett Group reports that 23% of AP time is spent just answering vendor inquiries. That's nearly a quarter of your team's time spent paying email ping pong. Contract compliance is extremely difficult. Most teams don't have the bandwidth to check invoices against contracts in real time. And that leads to missed discounts, overpayments, and exposure to audit risk. And reporting analytics is still mostly reactive. By the time you see a problem in a dashboard, the cash has already left your account. The bottom line, we've reached a limit of what traditional automation can solve. And the next leap isn't better reporting, it's better execution. Just a few stats here that back that up, right? I won't go through these. because you're living it every day. And the reason we're here is to talk about how we can do it differently. So before we go on, let's take a quick pulse check of the room. I'd like to drop a poll out there. What's your biggest challenge in finance transformation right now? Manual processes and inefficiencies, lack of real-time insights, risk and fraud concerns, or technology adoption resistance? It's quiet out there today during the poll. Should have music that plays when the
Little
polls are running.
background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be a good Zoom. That'd be a good Zoom feature. Zoom, is your AI listening?
Right.
Katie, while they're answering the poll, Katie, some of the stuff that I went over, you see it when you're talking to our customers and just prospects.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add about some of those challenges, what you've seen for the most part?
I would say, I mean, you touch on a really big point of just fragmented processes and just having each organization has their own process. So it's really hard for automation today to be able to, tackle every single organization's process because they're all so different, which is where I think, agentic AI comes into play is that learning mechanism of understanding each organization's individual nuances, and where I'm really excited about kind of where it's going in the world today.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. And look here, the results are back. Almost 70% are on the manual processes and inefficiencies, slow train. That's not surprising. That usually tops the list, right? Based on everything we're saying. Visibility is always up there. So let's talk about how that's changing. And thank you all for giving us your insights. If you look at finance technology over the last decade, there's been a clear evolution. And it's gone from manual processes, obviously, to digital finance, but a few key eras within this small period of time where we've seen tremendous change. From 2015 to 2020, we really were in the digitization age. We scanned invoices, we implemented ERPs in earnest and AP automation, but the workflows themselves didn't really change, right? We went from spreadsheets to manual workflows. ERP systems helped streamline, but didn't really have the intelligence, and still don't, to make significant change to our workflows, and humans are still involved. Obviously, the pandemic accelerated a lot of this shift, and so by the early 2020s, we started seeing more rapid adoption of this hyper-automation technology. And AI started to come on the scene, right? Copilots arrived, and AI began to help with insights. Humans are still, for the most part, needed to drive the process. But during this time, right, CFOs' roles, as you all well know, expanded significantly to more of a strategic partner and a risk preventer for the business, as opposed to reporting and reactive, backwards-looking results delivering, right? And so AI during this period really started to take hold. But now, we're entering the era, as we mentioned, of agentic AI. It is the agentic AI era where AI doesn't just help with the work, it does the work. And it's not just an automation 2.0, it's a fundamental shift where AI truly can take on units of work and do them independently, where you, traditionally, instead of doing the work, you become the overseer and the interrogator of the AI, making sure that the answers you need are coming back to you, and as an auditor, even so, when it comes to AI. So it's a fundamental shift in how the technology works alongside you and partners with you, right? So want to do one more quick poll. Where are you in your journey so that we can level set and get a baseline for the audience before we dive into the agentic AI examples? Curious to see if what this audience cohort looks like. Generally, the folks that we've been speaking with are super curious, but either haven't fully implemented AI within the organization or have a mandate to carve out a small piece of the organization with and testing and piloting AI. We'll see where this audience lands.
I think, Mark, something that's really interesting is just how ever evolving it is too, right? Like
Mhm.
it, as your slides have mentioned, like it really has evolved so rapidly over the last year. So, even if you are new to the game and you are just curious and haven't really dipped your toes in the water, that's completely fine. Because we understand how complex and for some maybe even scary it can be. And that's kind of where we're really excited to break down those walls and really show just how revolutionary it can be for day-to-day processing.
Yeah, it's a really good point, Katie, and it's interesting. I was just at a conference in Scottsdale for another organization, an accounting and finance organization conference, and there were a couple of keynotes, and obviously AI was front and center in a number of them. But the message delivered, I found rather interesting. It was very similar to the early blockchain message of slight skepticism. Trust
Mhm.
but verify, obviously, the blockchain mantra, trust but verify. But there was a heavy dose of skepticism from some of the evangelists as it pertains to accounting AI and how much you have oversight you need. And so we got a lot of questions of folks coming up to us, post some of these keynotes, asking truly how the AI works, how can you audit it? How do we know that it is truly accountable? How can I make sure it doesn't go askew? Because a lot of the AI conversations that we have and we see are around consumer AI, where you see a lot of these like ChatGPT hallucinations, et cetera, right? And it's important to note that AI at its core are large language models that are trained on like massive data sets. And the difference when it comes to especially Vic.ai, but accounting AI, is that we're talking about data sets and invoice history that is very well understood and very well understood. And so when it comes to AI applied against the invoice ingestion through the payment process, it takes a different shape than some of the AI that we hear in the consumer space, where you do get a lot of these like strange hallucinations and things like that. It's a very different kind of AI model. And so you can point to tangible, practical results, and you can also have the discussion around how do we get started? Well, you find the most least risky area of your process to test, like the test technology against, and define some actionable goals and begin to apply that technology. Right. So just an interesting tangent here as we were waiting for the poll results to come in, because you're absolutely right. The technology is evolving so quickly. And you have to understand, like, where can you apply it and how do we just begin? Because once you begin, you are able to see the value very quickly.
Absolutely.
So it's awesome to see here that we've got a cohort of around 24% who are already using AI in production. I'd love to hear what those use cases are. If you feel like dropping them into the chat, that would be amazing. And then a significant cohort who's curious but haven't started. So, right, like the barbell, right, where there's some on the leading end and some who are curious but haven't started. That's great. Let's dive in then and talk about agentic AI in finance and why really everyone is moving and gravitating toward this topic. As I mentioned, if you've attended a finance conference this year, or spent even 5 minutes on LinkedIn, frankly, you've probably heard this term and you've done a little bit of research. It is a real shift, and it's the first time we're trusting AI to act, not just analyze. And in a lot of cases, it's not just about recommendations. It's actually taking the next step, processing that transaction, sending the reply to a vendor, kicking off a payment based on your logic and your controls. And it's happening across the board in various industries. Interestingly, Deloitte just did a CFO signal survey where almost 70% of CFOs are being asked to do more with less, faster than ever before, right? This isn't really news, though. I mean, I think every decade we hear this. It's just how does technology assist us there? But it does tell you that it tells you that the AI technology that we're seeing today is a true game changer for how CFOs and AP teams, and finance and accounting teams more broadly, can implement technology to materially change their workflows. An AI that tells you what's wrong is no longer enough. It's why agentic AI is here. We need AI that fixes it. And here's what that looks like. And I can try to make the difference super clear. Copilots, which has been the AI model to date, are really, really good at giving you suggestions. They're really good at understanding what's happening in your invoice to payment process and providing a recommendation or surfacing something for you to look at. But they need you to prompt them, and they need you to review the answer, and then you take action. Agents, and that is the new model, actually take the task that you've defined and execute. So they process the invoice, ingest code for you. They check the contract proactively. They route the approvals autonomously. It's basically the difference between help me do this and please just do that. Please just do this, right? From a workflow perspective. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Katie to talk about the emerging use cases for agentic AI, what it looks like in the real world, and how you can begin to think about what agentic AI means for you in your AP operation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark. So as Mark mentioned, the kind of where we're going in the AI space is this agentic AI, which is really, I like to call it kind of augmenting your existing workforce with kind of your technical team or your digital team. And these agents are able to do kind of these autonomous, very kind of manual tasks that are very repetitive, right? And so they're able to kind of take those on, execute, and then learn. And then that kind of allows you to, and your team, to really focus on some more strategic initiatives. So Mark, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. Perfect. So kind of where we see the world going is really having individualized agents that are specialized in tasks, as I mentioned, very manual, very laborious tasks that are very data heavy, kind of repetitive in nature, that they can execute independently, but all kind of integrate with your ERP system and all interact and all have a centralized hub that interacts with your ERP or your source of truth. But they're able to kind of act and do the things that are more mundane or intensive, and then execute, provide you the details so your team can focus on kind of the strategy, where we're going, where we're headed, and then have oversight into all of the activity that these agents are accomplishing. So next slide. Oh. And so, as I mentioned, they're your digital teammates, almost like augmenting your existing workforce. They're not just, hey, I can help you be more efficient, but I can do some of the work that takes you a while or a long time, or kind of that repetitive, again, inbox checking, reporting, monthly reporting. I can do all of that work, or the agents can take on a large chunk of that initiative so you can focus on more of that strategic objective for your organization. So really reducing that manual workload, and ensuring accuracy is really important. As I mentioned, that the system is consistently learning. And so, you're able to kind of have oversight into how they're doing, see the audit trails, and then be able to provide feedback here and there to say, actually, let's look at this instead. If you change a field, it will then learn, okay, this is how I need to be doing this in the future. So really, the more you use it, the more it improves over time, which is, a lot of the AI systems today, which is incredibly exciting, especially as we think about kind of translating a lot of this manual work from humans to our agents. it is like teaching your best employee in a very, very short amount of time to do something that is just highly intensive for your organization.
And Katie, how do you think this it's such a compelling look at what's possible? How do you think this changes the dynamic of the AP team and what an AP team? I know we're going to get into the AP team in the future later, but just in general, you know, for the average AP or manager or controller, how does this model of the universe change their day to day?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change in day to day is really going to be more of an oversight and strategic role. So not only overseeing their digital team and their digital workforce with the agents, but also, each of your individual employees, now with kind of the agentic AI and different AI models, your individual employees are able to be so much more entrepreneurial in a sense. They have so much at their fingertips that if there is a problem in a process or a workflow or something within their organization that they in the past they'd be like, oh, well, I just have to deal with this inefficiency. There's so much at their fingertips today with this agentic models that they can actually execute independently. You can give them a lot more kind of control into their processes and organizational capacity for them to be able to kind of squash those inefficiencies and drive kind of forward independently.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things that we've noted as we talk to folks in the market and even spend time with our customers, you can see how the shift in just the day-to-day time spent by each of the folks on your team changes, right? Whereas traditionally a really solid contributor on the team is great at a number of different IC tasks and pulling them together. Whether it's recruiting or hiring, in addition to their daily work, training new colleagues, and then managing as well as all of the IC work. Moving forward, managing AI resources instead of human resources, understanding how to work with AI to get more leverage is really what we're seeing. And so it's super interesting just to see that shift because when you think about how much this frees up. And when you start thinking about, okay, I'm going to deploy agents against all of these, these minute tasks around the inbox, around contracts, around various things that we'll talk about, all of this other work that's just not even getting done today, you can start turning your focus to. And so employees will shift their, the makeup of how they operate. Really, really interesting. But, yeah.
Definitely.
Let me go move on to the next slide for you. So there you go.
Yeah. No, thank you. Kind of one more note on that is I think what's incredibly exciting is some of your best performers that right now, 80% of their day is spent kind of doing these day-to-day mundane tasks that, I'm sure they're just not super thrilled about, and there's not a lot of creativity involved in that. So some of your high performers that, might feel like they're hitting a ceiling just by the amount of workload that they have, now kind of strip that and really feel like they have some more autonomy in what their day-to-day can look like and a little bit more creativity around like, oh, I have so much more ability to assist my organization and make this better and
absolutely,
kind of, which is exciting.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
Let's talk about kind of our first agent. So we have 3 different use cases that we're going to talk about today. The first is inbox management. We've mentioned it a few different times, but managing an inbox, kind of working through emails, contacting your vendors have questions, kind of that ping pong. That I love that word that you use, Mark. That's a great analogy for it because it really is such a ping pong of trying to get an email, respond, get an email back, and that it's such a mundane task that can easily be. It's a great use case for this agentic AI world that we're kind of coming into, where the agent can read your email inbox, see that your vendor asked a question, pull data from our database, say, hey, I actually have an answer for you, and kind of draft that response. So all that you have to do in the morning is read through all of your draft messages and shoot them out. And then eventually, once you get comfortable, you can even have them just execute autonomously. And so it's a very kind of what is taking, as Mark said, 26%, I believe, of some of your team's times can be broken down into an easy 30-minute start of day task.
Yeah, super, manual intensive today. I mean, I'm sure everyone sees this, and granted, this is Vic's approach to dealing with inbox with our agent, but we're here in general just to talk about the problem, right? And I think, I can't see a show of hands, but I would bet that everyone is nodding in terms of understanding like how much inefficiency is just baked into this part of the AP process with your team every day. That correspondence and that back and forth that at its core can unlock so much value if done well. Number one, like the vendor relationships are so important, right? That you have, and having good, consistent communication, timely and on point with your vendors can create much more healthy relationships that obviously lead to better long-term growth for the company. Secondly, just that cash flow, right? Where you're able to have better, quicker cash flow, not only visibility, but actual movement of cash to drive the business forward. And this sort of stuff is just stuck in this manual inefficiency today. And so it's just one of the simplest but most like quick to realize value agentic AI use cases that we've seen. And so while something around the inbox might seem mundane, it becomes material for companies who are able to really improve those vendor relationships and unlock that cash flow movement. No, we've seen it, and I'm sure you have as well, Katie.
Absolutely. It's something that when we talk about the inbox conundrum with some of our clients, it is such a major pain point and something they're definitely looking to solve for.
Let's move on to another interesting use case for agentic AI.
Yes, absolutely. And this one is just, if you've ever read a contract, which everyone here has, it is painful. It's painful. I mean, these contracts can be anywhere from 20 pages to 75 pages long. They have nuanced terminology and language that sometimes only a lawyer can read, and it's a time suck when it comes to trying to get very key details out of your existing contract with your vendors, and also where to find them, because they always seem to be in some hidden drive somewhere that only certain people can access. And just the ability to
So true. Right? The hidden drive where contracts exist. It's such a real thing.
It's such a real thing. So the ability to just say, hey, my invoice is coming in. I want to make sure all of these terms are right. My vendor is listing terms on this invoice that I don't have 100% clarity on, because we have 2,000 vendors that I work with on a day-to-day basis. I don't have 100% clarity that these terms are accurate or correct. And also with how we're paying, we could have payment discounts that we would love to surface to be able to save some money there. And so it's something where, we have clients that will come in and say, hey, I think we're losing millions of dollars a year. But we just don't know, because we don't have the time or the energy to be able to track down this information. It's just, we have too many invoices we have to process a month. And so we're really focusing on that. And so with our contracts agent, that contracts agent is working continuously in the background to read your contracts, pull key information, and then create different alerts and approvals based on what is existing in that contract. So if an invoice comes in with incorrect terms, it will surface that information and say, hey, we actually can't approve this invoice yet because the terms are incorrect. Or it'll surface early pay discounts. Hey, if you pay this, 7 days in advance, you're going to get this amount of discount for this invoice. So surfacing some of that information just so your team can, again, strategically decide how they're going to process these invoices for your business, to make good strategic decisions for your organization is really kind of where this contract agent is providing value.
Amazing. Super, super interesting. And I can't underscore enough how much time this can save. There's entire cottage industries right now actually being stood up on contract AI, and so it just goes to show you how important having deep visibility into your contracts is, and how much it can unlock for an organization. So I'm super excited about this use case for agentic AI within accounting and finance, because it's just a major unlock. And then let's detail the last area we'll talk about today. These aren't, by the way, all the use cases for agentic AI. Clearly, you saw at the beginning there are like a lot of different ways you can deploy agentic AI. But what Katie is highlighting here are just three of the most common use cases to give you a sense of like how this agentic AI technology can benefit. So let's talk about analytics, Katie.
Absolutely. And I believe we did get the 5-minute warning mark. So I'm going to try to be
Yep.
relatively concise with this one. So
Yep.
the analytics agent. So this is, hey, how is my team doing? Trying to surface some of this data that, right now is probably being fed into a Power BI somewhere that only, again, certain people have access to, takes maybe 8 hours of someone's time every month to be able to surface this monthly reporting package for your executive team. And by that point, you only have all of that is already in the past. And so, trying to execute real time of how are we going to do some of this change management to become more efficient is just, it's tough when some of our analytics and data is in the past. So, the analytics agent, it surfaces real time data on how your team's performing, some of your efficiencies, and how you can be more effective with ROI of your resourcing. So you can ask questions and get real time feedback on how things are going.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie, for detailing through those. And there's so much more we can talk to on this agentic AI use case subject. So please, do follow up if you'd like to learn more about individual agentic AI use cases. But you may just want to mention like the overall vision here, Katie, like how this is going back to like how do you interact with all of these agents on a daily basis? How does this change your day to day?
Absolutely. So as we've mentioned a few times, kind of where this is going is your resources and your teams are more kind of playing an oversight role. And so we're seeing this as really being a dashboard that your employees are going into every day and managing their digital workforce, where they can define tasks, they can see real-time results, view auditing trails, schedule, different agents, configure your agents, give them crazy enough personalities, backstories, say, hey, we really want you to be incredibly analytical. Or, if it's an agent that is surfacing with other members of your organization, say, hey, we really want a customer service focus. But really allow your team to have some configurability over their digital workforce and a real hub center to manage them.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Hopefully that was useful for folks. I know we've just got one more minute here and then our time is wrapping up. So I just want to I'll move past the poll and just quickly mention here, like this is how you can move toward this new way of operating, right? And the AP team of the future and the finance leader of the future will be in a different role materially, where AI fluency is essential and you're skilled in this sort of data analysis, decision making, and focusing on value creation, right? Acting as a strategic advisor to the business. So we're thrilled to have been able to join you today. Thank you, everyone. I would like to mention Vic.ai is going to be at the IFOL in-person event in Miami in September. So if you'd love to learn more about this, please stop by and join us at that event. And we'll be happy to chat with you. And if you'd like to reach out to us, you can also do so. You can reach out through me. It's a very simple email, Mark, M-A-R-K, at Vic.ai. And I'd be happy to put you in touch with anyone in the org who you might like to speak with. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Rob.
Katie, Mark, wow. Agentic AI is truly changing things in your field, just making life easy.
Making it better.
Really?
That's what,
so,
yeah.
Well, this is great. I'm sorry?
No, I mean, I was just going to say, it's the arc of every massive technology shift through human history, right? From the the first cities to the space age, the goal of these massive technology shifts, maybe not the goal, but just the result, is freeing up human capacity to do more and do different things, right? And so AI is just another arc on that long journey.
And the last couple of years, I've been talking in depth about this, and it's nothing to be scared of. This is something you need to welcome because it's going to make your life easier. It's going to give you time to do other things. It's going to make it efficient, and it'll save money.
Absolutely.